Good afternoon, Freedom's Chapel Christian Church. It's your Pastor Roz Nichols bringing you greetings on this beautiful Friday afternoon, February the 19th, 2010. I'd just like to remind you on this Sunday, we will be celebrating historical black colleges and universities. We have invited our friends from Lemoyne College to come and share with us, and we will also be highlighting our HBCU graduates in the congregation. I am challenging our HBCU graduates this Sunday to reach out to one of the young people in our congregation and in our community and share your HBCU experience with someone else. Tell them how wonderful it was, your challenges, your learning curves, because in 2010, more so now than ever before, education is still essential to the success of our young people and to the improvement of our community. It is an information age, and young people need all of the skills and tools and resources in order to be able to function successfully in this new era and new age. And so I invite you, please, HBCU graduates, tell somebody about your experience. I'd also like to remind you that this Sunday we have been invited to wear our best and most beautiful African attire. Now, we are kind of a salad mix or a melting pot of people. We come from a variety of cultures and heritages. But during the month of February, during the month called Black History Month, we celebrate what it means to be of African descent. And so I invite you on this Sunday to put on your most beautiful and colorful and come and celebrate what it means to be black and to be proud. Now I'd like to pause and begin the first of a 7-part series, devotional series during the Lenten season. This past Wednesday, we celebrated Ash Wednesday. For those of you who may not be familiar, Ash Wednesday is the beginning of the 40 days of Lent. Lent in Anglo-Saxon terms means spring or renewal or regeneration, if you will. On Ash Wednesday, we pause and consider that the mistakes that we make, the times when we miss the mark, when the good that we would, we don't do, but that which we would not, we do, when our intentions, our thoughts, our actions are not toward that which is positive and good, then what we say in church is that we have sinned and fallen short. And we acknowledge that sin creates a burden on us. It separates us. It creates a disconnect between us and God, our neighbors, and even ourselves. And that we cannot make that reconnection on our own. In the Christian community, we believe that it is by the life and the death and the ministry of Jesus Christ that we are able to create a bridge to fill that chasm so that we are reconnected in our relationship with God, in our relationship with our neighbors, and in our relationship with ourselves. And so on Ash Wednesday, we pause to acknowledge that we need to recognize how our mistakes have created this separation. And we begin the 40 days of journeying toward being reconnected and renewed and revigorated, if you will, and reconciled in our relationships with ourselves, with neighbors, and with God. And so in order to prepare us and for us to be focused during the Lenten time, I'm going to give you a few just reminders of ways that you can stay on the path for Lent. After all, Lent is about choosing Lent and living Lent. It's choices and actions that we take to help us in the journey toward being awakened spiritually and inspired in our hearts and to have our faith transformed over these next 40 days. And we are not just people who are thinking individuals. We actually are mind, body, soul, and spirit, right? And so we would like to strive to experience Lent with our senses, our imaginations, as we reach out to God and God's creative power to help us to see how to share the love that we have in our hearts for God and our desire to make our hearts and our hands work in concert with each other to make our lives and our worlds a better place. And to help us with that, I'd like to begin by inviting you to create some sacred space in your home that will help you to remember that these are 40 days of Lent. We have so many distractions in our life today that we need something to keep us focused. And so a sacred space in the house where you set aside a candle, maybe every evening when you come home, you take a few moments to light the candle, to remind yourself that not only are you to be light in the world, but that we believe that Jesus came and brought light into the world, and we need light in order to function. Not only that, you may want to do, instead of a candle, you may want to leave a Bible open that serves to remind you that God's word is important to us. It is indeed a light unto our feet and a lamp unto our path, that it guides and directs us. You may want to get a cross, not an ornate decorative cross, but a very simple cross to remind you that the journey toward renewal goes through a wilderness experience, and there's some struggle and sacrifice on the other side, that resurrection does not come easily, and that our journey towards spiritual renewal will also carry with it some wilderness, some sacrifice, and even, yes, some struggle. But it is all vital to the newness of life that we are reaching for. Perhaps you want to set aside a simple bowl of water. Water reminds us about the ability to be cleansed and to be refreshed and to have the living water of God to rest inside of us so that we are renewed daily. And then perhaps you may even want to get just a simple plant, a little plant that reminds you that you are God's seed. And what we desire is for God to plant us in fertile soil so that our lives will be fruitful and enriched and nutritious. These are ways that you can create sacred space in your home. Lent is also the time when we are more mindful than ever before that we live in a world where most of the world is poverty stricken. They live in abject poverty. And so we become particularly sensitive during this time for the poor and the marginalized. Certainly, we should be mindful of this on a daily basis in our lives. And Lent allows us to reflect on how we can make this a practice by maybe perhaps being intentional over the 40 days of going to a soup kitchen or working in a food pantry or making a contribution to a relief agency for Haiti or some other nonprofit organization. But that we serve the greater good when we remember those who are struggling to make ends meet. The Bible teaches us that just as we have done it unto the least of these, we have done it unto Christ. It is also a time for there to be some reconnection and reconciliation in families and relationships. That during the Lenten season, maybe you will take time to pause and be intentional about praying for your family relationships, for your community relationships within the family, so that it is an appropriate time for the family to focus during Lent, and also to invite the family to come together. We are so busy these days that families can go months, maybe even years without setting time aside to gather and pray together. And so I invite you during these 40 days to be intentional. That keeps us on the path of choosing Lent and living the Lenten experience when families come together and pray together. That helps us to realign our priorities and consider what is really most important. It may be a time for you to do some spring cleaning. Maybe you need to get rid of some things in your life and choose to live more simplistically so that you can appreciate. Maybe somebody could use what you already have. Maybe it might be a blessing to someone else. And so these are a variety of ways that you can choose Lent and live Lent, that the choices that you make translate into the actions that you take that help to awaken your spirit, inspire your heart, and transform your faith. I do pray that you will consider these things, because after all, in Matthew's gospel, Jesus talks about a number of seeds that get planted and how some fall not on fertile soil, but there are seeds that fall on fertile soil and bear much fruit. I am asking you to ask God, which seed are you? And then ask God to make sure that your life is planted in fertile soil so that you might be enriched and inspired and encouraged. I do pray that over the next 40 days that your joy will be broadened, that your hope will be extended, that your faith will be strengthened, and that you might feel the presence of the Lord in your life in even greater ways, and that your relationships might grow sweeter over these next 40 days. It is a journey. It's not a destination, but we take the journey together. I do pray with you with the love of the Lord in my heart, and I extend the same to you. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday, and have a blessed and safe and wonderful weekend. Bye now.